Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to you. My name is Nick and it's that time again where we do a 2-week roundup to look at all the videos, or at least the top 6 that we've done in this period, and we'll try and get them in some cool kind of order. So if you haven't had time to watch all the videos, and there are a lot that go up, here's a selection of the best ones according to me, which I enjoyed the most, so you might want to track those down and show the video a bit of love. Now before we come to those, there are a few games, as always, that didn't quite make the top 6 but are honourable mentions, and I want to mention them in case you would have included those in your top 6. So they're pretty good games quite a lot of the time. The first one was Hero on the Commodore 64, published by Activision in 1984. I really loved this game when I originally reviewed it on the Atari 2600, and the Commodore 64 does add an extra layer to it. It's got improved graphics, but more importantly, it's kept the traditional gameplay. You control a guy through different stages with a helicopter jetpack thing, and he must guide his way through different mines, different obstacles to rescue trapped miners. It's quite a basic idea, but it's done really, really well. It's 8-bit glory, and you know, you do get a bit of a buzz from playing this game. Although I didn't own it back in the day, I like the Atari 2600 version, and I also like the Commodore 64 version. Very, very slight preference for the Atari 2600, but that's a lot more basic than this Commodore 64 one. Another game which people probably would have had in their top 6 is Double Dragon on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive, depending on where you are in the world. Published by Accolade in 1992. It's classic 2D horizontal scrolling beat 'em up sort of fare for 1 to 2 players. I think I would have enjoyed it more if it was on 2 players, because these games are sort of like designed with that in mind, like the Streets of Rage games 1, 2 and 3, which hopefully we'll come to as well. Graphics are good, movement is good. Why didn't I put it in the top 6? Well, there's others that I enjoyed slightly more. There's a huge name, Double Dragon, very, very popular. The ZX Spectrum versions and the Commodore Amiga versions are particularly bad, but this version is good. And another one that didn't make the top 6, which I want to mention as well, is back, very retro. This game is The Empire Strikes Back on the Atari 2600, published by Parker Brothers in 1982. It's quite basic in its idea. It's a bit like Defender really, but you, in terms of the scanner scope at the bottom, you control Luke Skywalker in his snowspeeder. You're defending the Echo base from the, owned by the rebels from attacking Imperial walkers, and you must shoot them and blow them up. The game's always going to end in disaster because the attack Imperial walkers will keep coming and coming and coming, but it is skill based. Occasionally there'll be a soft target that appears on the walker. If you hit that a few times, it will explode. Other than that, you have to hit the walker about over 40 times and it will go without being shot yourself. Sounds quite basic, but it's a classic game, and if I owned that back in the day from 1982, I would have played it for quite a lot. So 3 great games which didn't make the top 6. Always controversial, the mentions. Now before I come to the top 6, trying to speed this along a little bit because they always tend to go on a bit too long, it's the pinball games we've covered on Zen Studios. Pinball Star Wars FX3, the Clone Wars, a really good table based on the cartoon series. The reason why I reviewed this one again, because I previously looked at it on the PlayStation 3, I thought I had a look at the PlayStation 4. The reason why I looked at it again is recently it was announced there's going to be a new series of the Clone Wars, and it should be quite good. I've watched a few episodes of various shows, but I haven't watched the whole series admittedly, but it's something I'd like to watch. I mean, if you wasn't looking at the screen, the cartoon, and it would be a fantastic radio play, but the imagery pops it up a little bit. So quite interested to see what they're going to do with the new series. But the game itself, improved shadowing the PlayStation 4 over the PlayStation 3. I'm sure it would look the same on PC and Xbox. But a good game, lots of mini games there as well, like all the Zen Studios tables, and it's really, really worth picking up if you're either into pinball, Star Wars, or that sort of genre science fiction. Excellent stuff. And on the Sega Mega Drive, I didn't include this in the top 6, but it's a really good game. Best pinball game I've played so far on the Sega Genesis Mega Drive is Dragon's Fury by TECHNOSOFT in 1992. The Japanese version, I believe, called Devil's Crush or Devil's Crash, had a lot more gothic and religious imagery. This is toned ever so slightly, but there's lots going on. There's lots of targets, there's demons and minions actually walking over the table to hit. It's 3 screens high at the table with lots of different mini games there as well, so well worth checking out. If you own a Sega Mega Drive, then pick up Dragon's Fury if you're into pinball. It's one of the better ones. Other pinball tables reviewed on that system is Virtual Pinball and Psycho Pinball. Psycho Pinball was good, but I would edge this one just above it because it's of its originality. Okay, so the top 6 then. Here we go. Number 6, I've put Alien on the Atari 2600, which was published by Fox Interactive or Fox Games in 1982. Now, heavily influenced by Pac-Man by Namco from the arcades in 1980, instead of Pac-Man walking around a maze, you are this stickman. I don't know if it's Ellen Ripley or not, it doesn't actually tell you. And instead of power pills, although they look like power pills, pellets you're collecting, they're supposed to be eggs. All the elements are there you expect from Pac-Man. Instead of the fruit you can collect for bonuses, there's either planets or bits of ships. The power pills will turn up marked by a big asterisk where you can actually chomp the aliens, yes, because instead of free ghosts after you, there's free aliens. Now, it was mentioned in the comment section that maybe the aliens are running backwards, because I saw it as a big gaping open mouth. But if you freeze it and look at it for long enough, it does seem like the alien looks better going the other way in the tail. I'm still undecided, but it was a good comment. And are they moving backwards? You have a look and let me know. I just saw it as a big gaping mouth. But controls well. Really dodgy mini game here, which I never got the hang of after each level. It's a bit like Frogger. I'm sure there was a tactic involved there. Might have finished higher up if it weren't for that. In 5th place, a really good platformer. I put Titus the Fox on the Commodore Amiga, published by TITUS Software in 1992. Yes, called TITUS Software, and it's Titus the Fox to Marrakesh and back. Over 15 levels, this urban fox must rescue his girlfriend Susie, who's been kidnapped. Yes, I know. There's a lot to get right in this game, and it was my only first or second go, so as per usual, there's quite a few things I was doing wrong. A few people gave me some tips there, so I might go back to that in my free time and try and get a bit further. But graphically, it's good. Sound is brilliant, great level design there, and it's a cute game and addictive too. So it's got all the elements. So you're looking for a good platform game on the Commodore Amiga and you don't know where to go. This one is a good one. Other ones will be Zool, Zool 2, Super Frog and Great Giant Sisters. Good stuff. Okay, and in 4th place, a game I played really a lot on the Commodore Amiga and I absolutely love, so that's my benchmark for any other version, reviewed it on a few other systems as well, was SPEEDBAU 2 Brutal Deluxe by Virgin in 1992. Was by Virgin in Europe and I think Arena in the US and the rest of the world. Now, it's a cyberpunk game, a football-orientated game where you must bring the lowly team SPEEDBAU, Brutal Deluxe from Division 2, Division 1, and win the cup and the league. You can do this by upgrading your players and buying players on the transfer market. It's a bit of a crunch, brutal football action, scoring goals, hitting stars, bounce domes, and injuring your opponents. Really love this on the Commodore Amiga. So there's a few things in this version that were missing. I'm told it was ported from the Atari ST version, so maybe that's so. Things like the crowd atmosphere seems less. There's a really good soundbite where he's shouting ice cream from the crowd every time there was a goal. That's gone, and there's a few other bits missing as well. But apart from that, the gameplay is identical, and I really enjoyed this game. If I was unaware the Amiga version existed, I really would have loved this as a kid. And I think I would have played it anyway, because it might start off a slightly bit quicker as well, but really good game, a really good port from the Amiga version. We'll have a look at other few ports from the Amiga to the Sega Mega Drive, then we'll do some games in its own right, but we'll mix it up a bit. So, in 6th place was Alien on the Atari 2600, published by Fox Interactive in 1982. In 5th place, Titus the Fox to Marrakesh and back on the Commodore Amiga, published by TITUS Software in 92 again. And in 4th place, SPEEDBAU 2 Brutal Deluxe on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive by Virgin Arena in 1992. So all in the 2s, so maybe they were destined to come 6, 5 and 4. Okay, so top 3 time, and this might surprise a few people, this one, because, you know, I'm a sucker for these 80s games, so some might finish a bit higher than what you might have them if you're a bit younger or a bit older than myself. It's all to do with nostalgia, really. So in 3rd place, again on the Sega's Mega Drive or Genesis, is Super Hang-On by Sega in 1989, based on the arcade cabinet. Now, back in the day, I owned this on the Amiga, which I didn't mind, and I played it later on the ZX Spectrum, which was pretty good. But this version is the best version I played. Game Boy Advance version wasn't so bad, but it was a little bit easy. This seems to have got the difficulty just about right. You're on a motorbike, you're going through checkpoints before the time runs out. There's different music to select, different difficulty levels. And what's really good with this version is, which I still prefer the arcade version, they added a normal mode where you can play it like a management sort of thing, where you're gradually upgrading your bike, trying to get better times and all that sort of stuff, which is good. Doesn't move as fast as the Lotus series, but I think if it did, it would be really hard to control, so I forgive it for that. But a really good game, Super Hang-On. Now, second and first are two 8-bit games on two different systems. Second place, I put Metro Cross on the ZX Spectrum 48K, published by US Gold in 1987. I believe it's an arcade conversion, and generally US Gold do awful arcade conversions, but this seems to be the exception to the rule. I think it was influenced maybe a little bit by the book The Running Man, but essentially you're in the future, you've got a crash helmet on, it's a 2D scroller, and you must run through different stages, avoiding obstacles before the time runs out. Do one stage, then it's on to the next stage, and you get more and more obstacles. There's a skateboard to jump on, things that slow you down, rats that bite you, and it's quite addictive. It's a sort of classic Spectrum idea, and works well on that system. I might try and look for it on other versions as well. It'd be interesting to see what the Commodore 64 version is like as well, but I really enjoyed it, really. First look at it, you might think there's not much to it, but it is addictive and it plays really good. So it's Metro Cross by US Gold. It's going to be interesting in the future, isn't it? Speedball 2, Metro Cross, Roll Cage, Rocket League. Oh, I really hope these sports come to full fruition. So, at number 1 this time, I put a super classic. Wasn't very good at it, but, you know, such a response on Twitter about the video, then had to be number 1. It might have been number 1 anyway. On the Commodore 64, it's a Boulder Dash by First Star Software in 1984. Cloned literally hundreds of times this over loads of different systems. This is the original and I think the best. You control a character called Rockford. He must collect a load of diamonds around a maze without the boulders falling on his head. Yes, if you travel underneath a boulder, taking away the back scenery, which quite happens wherever he goes, a boulder will fall down. So you have to plot your path, collect all the diamonds, and then get to the exit. It gets gradually more and more difficult. Starts off fairly easy, although I made a bit of a meal of it. And yeah, absolutely excellent game, classic game, one to go down in your history books there if you're into retro gaming. So in third place, just to confirm, I put Super Hang-On on the Sega Genesis or Mega Drive from Sega in 1989. In second place, Metro Cross on the ZX Spectrum by US Gold in 1987. And in first place, Boulder Dash on the Commodore 64 by First Star Software in 1984. So well, thank you for watching the videos if you have done, and those people that have been supporting me through Patreon, because that really does help trying to build that up so we can keep this going. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Check out those videos if you haven't seen them all. And till next time, take great care of yourself and a very fond goodbye.
Goodbye.